Hi, Cam followers. How you all doing? Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Nikki, and tonight we have got Hayley from Canine Hoopers UK joining us. We're always talking on cam about exercising our dogs and really excited when we find new exciting sports or activities that would be suitable for arthritic dogs. And Canine Hoopers appears to be one of those things that ticks loads of the boxes that would be great for arthritic dogs. So Hayley has kindly agreed to come on this evening and talk to us about Canine Hoopers, answer any questions that you may have. If anything crops up that you want to chat about, please do pop it in the comments and we'll try and get round to that as we go along or at the end if we feel like it's going to be something that we're going to cover anyway. So I'm going to pass over to Hayley to introduce herself and we'll go from there. Hi, Hayley.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for having me on. It's really quite exciting to be doing this. So there we go.
So tell
Okay,
us a bit about yourself.
bit about me. Crazily, we live with 12 dogs, so we have a nice mixture of breeds.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a lot of dogs. Most of them are just pets, but we compete in agility, in hoopers. I've got one that's done heel whip to music freestyle a couple of times. We'll basically get involved and do pretty much anything. Harness sports is always good fun as well.
Okay.
I predominantly compete in agility. Most people actually don't know me, but they know one of my dogs. I've had people come up to me at shows and go, "Is that Atom?" And that's my main Kelpie, and that's who everybody seems to know.
Okay.
And he has actually competed internationally for the para team. But yeah, so we mostly do agility, but obviously we do hoopers as well. Very, very exciting to be doing hoopers. And I tend to find that all my guys that if they do one, they do both, and they absolutely love it. And I've
Okay.
got my little collie bitch. She'll only do agility once a month, like if there's big treats involved. But hoopers, she'll do it a lot more. She really, really enjoys the hoopers.
Okay. So she enjoys that. Well, we'll talk about what it is in a minute. Then you can tell us why there may be a reason why she prefers it over the agility. So before we go any further, because I'm very new to this as well, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be, what exactly is Canine Hoopers?
Okay, so Canine Hoopers UK, that's us, and basically it's a little bit likened to agility. So people that have ever seen an agility course run, people often think it's very similar but without any jumps. So they think
Yeah.
it's an easier version of agility. Surprisingly, it's actually quite far from agility. The only similarity really between hoopers and agility is that a handler and a dog pair and have to negotiate an obstacle course. Basically, the obstacles are different to an agility, so they're much lower impact. There's no jumping, there's no weave poles, there's no going up and over big obstacles. It's basically all running just on the ground. They just have to go through hoops.
Right.
But they're, yeah, it's literally, imagine a hula hoop, because actually we do use hula hoops for some of it. Imagine a hula hoop with a flat bottom, and
Okay.
that's what the dogs have to run through basically.
And
Um,
and it's obviously attached to the ground, no jumping to go through it at all.
no jumping at all. They all sit flat on the floor. The pipe, a lot of the pipes around 21, 22 mil, so 2 centimeters. That's the highest they have to go off the ground, and we
Okay.
have all breeds that do it. But it also differs from agility in the sense that it's actually you don't run around with your dog. You can if you want to, but then you would just make it flat agility. The skill in hoopers is all about actually being able to direct your dog whilst you stand in boxes or behind lines that earn you extra points, and then you get awarded more points. And as you go
Okay.
up the levels, you go up the levels quicker with more points. And in the higher levels, you get placed first with the most points. So actually, points win prizes.
Right. So it's kind of it's doing the activity, but also the difference is that you're judged or you get your points not just on what your dog does, but how you manage your dog from a distance then.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So how long has it been going on in the UK? How long has Canine Hoopers been here? Where did it originate from?
Okay, so the history of hoopers. Over in America, you've got something called the North American Dog Agility Council, and that's NADC. It's known as NADC for short. And
Okay.
I have always admired the NADC style of competitions. Now, it is agility effectively, but you've got a lady called Sharon Nelson, and she actually invented the Hooper's Hoop. And they have lower jump heights anyway, so it's lower impact on the dogs. But they started introducing hoops as a way of having even less impact, but they were part of an agility course. So it was a way of doing the same challenge, but without as much impact on the dog. And as it got more popular, they started to introduce barrels for turning and gates and tunnels still. But they actually started to run a Hoopers class like all on its own. So it was like a special class. It was just Hoopers. And I mean, I've always admired the NADC stuff because of the distance handling. I do distance handling and agility myself. And that's, I always fancied going over to the States and having a go, but I won't put my dog on an aeroplane.
Yeah.
Sorry. So back in 2015, I was running the British Agility Association. I still run the BAA. And we started, alongside our normal competitions, running what I used to call a NADC ring, which was where we had some hoops, we had some barrels, and basically we had some fun classes based on these North American classes with their obstacles. And then 2016, 2017, it just really, really took off. We had people coming specifically to the shows, not to do agility, but just to do the NADC style classes.
Okay.
Now, we've adapted it quite a lot from the American style because NADC, which it's now run by Amanda and Chris Nelson, which is Sharon's daughter and son.
Okay.
She's retired from that now. She does other things. But they still treat their hoops very much like an agility obstacle. So they would do tight turns. So if you imagine the side of a hoop is only, say, like 2 centimeters wide, 2 centimeters wide, that's very, very thin. And they would ask a dog to go through the hoop and come around it. So it would only be about that big and then come back on themselves.
It's a really tight turn.
Very tight, which in agility is completely normal. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm really not criticizing. It's just they use it as agility. So when we started to really establish actually how we were going to do this over here, Canine Hoopers UK was formed in 2017. And we said, well, actually, we don't want it to be totally related to agility. We want to look at the distance aspect, but we want to look at keeping it low impact. So chuck courses are smooth and free flowing, and we don't wrap around hoops or anything. Everything is all about the dog's line being smooth and flowing. So we have adapted it quite a lot from NADC, where it originally came from.
Yeah.
But it still wouldn't be a thing without NADC itself. So.
But NADC, it doesn't sound like they were doing it specifically to have a low impact sport then, because it wasn't necessarily low impact. Did they just decide to do something different, slightly different from agility, but still kind of agility?
Yeah, NADC is hugely popular over in the States. And actually, NADC is actually popular in several countries around the world. And BAA has now been recognised as the only UK representative for NADC competitions over here. But within NADC itself, when you go in to run one of their classes, you would find a dog walk, a weave, a jump, a hoop. It's just a piece of agility equipment for them. That's just what it is. We've taken it out of that scenario and said, no, this is something all of its own. And we've changed how we use it. So it's just become its own sport in its own right. And we've adapted the equipment. So obviously I've talked about the Hooper's Hoop. We also have barrels. So you'll see generally on like farms and things, you get the really big blue barrels, and they will we use those basically as our barrels. They are big. They are okay. Now that's not going to help. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you how wide they are. They're wider than a human. But I suppose it depends how big your human is.
So to run around them is going to be a lot further than an actual turn.
God, yes. And we don't do really tight turns around them anyway. They're generally used for 90 or 180 degree turns. So you're not looking at a really, really tight turn. But they are quite good fun. And we did a course a couple of months back. And if any of my guys that were on Hoopers Camp have tuned in tonight, because we have shared it in the Chuck group, they will remember the ice cream cone course where we had 10 barrels in the same course. And you got lost inside a sea of blue barrels. It was very, very entertaining. Sorry, I digress. So then we've also got tunnels. Now, for those of you who've watched agility, our tunnels are different from agility tunnels. So agility tunnels are only 60 centimetre in diameter, and they range, I think, anything from 3 meters to 6 meters in length. And you can have those bent all kinds of angles. So they're quite nice in agility. You can put them at the end of a line, or you can put them underneath other things, and it actually gives you a nice, smooth way of turning the dogs around.
Right.
Now, in Hoopers, specific to Chuck, we said we want to be all breed inclusive. So we actually have 80 centimetre diameter tunnels, which doesn't sound that much bigger until you put it next to an agility tunnel and you go, oh my goodness, it's a giant.
It's huge.
It's a giant tunnel. But it means there's a lot of breeds out there that people have always considered doing agility with, but agility just isn't as inclusive. I mean, yes, you do get the odd Great Dane and the odd St. Bernard that do agility, but they are few and far between, simply because they are very heavy dogs. And their natural gait, their natural stance is wider than some of the planks that they have to walk on.
So and it's not a great idea to put them on those things, really.
It's not, but it's one of them. I don't want to sit here and criticise people that do, because I think anyone that does agility with a non-collie, you know, I'll take my hat off to them, because ABCs are great fun, but they are more of a challenge than, say, training a collie. So you get your Great Danes, we've got St. Bernards, Leonbergers, Newfoundlands, and then we've also got miniature Dachshunds. So if you go right down to the other end of the scale, you get dogs that really struggle to go over the smallest height of a jump in the agility world. So we've kind of got the tinies and the giants, as well as everything in between. And they come to us because it's similar. It gives the dog a mental and a physical workout, but it doesn't have that same level of impact on the dog. So we've got these big tunnels, and we only have them. They're usually 1 meters or 2 meters long. You can have up to 3 meters in length, but they're always straight. So this comes from many, many years ago, back in 2008. I was out with a friend who has wolfhounds, and she said, yeah, he'll be fine going through the tunnel. He'll be fine going through the tunnel. And he went through the tunnel, and then we had to straighten the tunnel for him to get out because he got stuck at the bend. So it's not just having the bigger tunnels for these bigger breeds, it's actually having them usable.
Without turns.
So, I mean, you can't physically bend a 1 or a 2 meter. A 3 meter you can a little bit, but it's the rules are the tunnels are straight, and the dog's line into and out of the tunnels is also kept very, very straight. So we're never asking a dog to bend going into, during, or coming out of a tunnel for safety reasons. And then
I think there are plenty of videos on the website, actually, aren't there, where you can see those setups. And I mean, I've watched a few of them, but with the barrels, you know, they're kind of using a bit of a row almost. This is a curve rather than a turn, aren't they? And then, like you say, you're straight again before you then go into a tunnel. And when you definitely watch the two videos, if you watch an agility video and then the Hoopers video, I feel like you can really appreciate, not necessarily the difference in the size of the tunnel, but you can just really appreciate the difference in the layout.
Yeah, it is. It's a very different layout. Both are great fun, but if you want low impact, you go Hoopers, not agility. You see, then you've also got, back when we first started, because obviously this came from NADC, which is an agility organisation, we also used to use a lowered A-frame. So they are about 3 foot wide, and we used to have them, I want to say, between 3 and 4 foot high, so much, much lower than an agility A-frame. Put it this way, I'm short and I could see over the top of it, all right? And
okay. So an A-frame, just to let people know, the A-frame is where they run up one side and run down the other side.
Yeah, so it's literally, if you think about which way's the camera? You think about a capital A, and it's like that, and they have to go up the ramp, across the top, and then down the ramp the other side.
So this was a very short one.
Yes, the very short one. So in agility, that would be, sorry, it's trying to, because the camera turns around on me. So if that was the steepness of, say, an agility A-frame, then our A-frame was more like this. So it was much, much lower. It was still impact, and we only used it in a handful of shows, and we went, you know what, this does not fit with us. So we took it out, and we have a special class, the touch and go class, which has been nicknamed the Tango class.
Yes, I saw that.
So what we did is we adapted this. We said, you know what, we don't want a lower A-frame in it. We want something that's more low impact. So we actually designed and invented a new piece of equipment, which is called the Tango mat. capital G in the middle, so nothing to do with the drink. And it's basically a flat rubber grippy mat. It's made from special rubber granules that's similar to the agility equipment, with poles on the corners or just inside the corners. And the dogs have to just run across this flat mat, but they have to make contact with the mat. They can't jump it. And they're not allowed to stop on it. They're not allowed to slow down or turn around or anything that's going to be impact. They just literally have to run across the mat. So that sounds quite easy in itself. When you start adding in the different skill sets to this, and actually you've got your handlers 20 feet out to the side over there, and then actually they're coming in on a curve this way, and then they've got to change their line to make sure they actually pass through the poles. There's more skill to a tango mat than most people realise.
Yeah.
So many people don't train a tango mat properly. Oh yeah, it's fine in training. He just did it. Great. Go put it in a competition, and most of those dogs will not successfully do it.
They'll actually try and clear it or go around it.
Yeah, they do, or they go across it sideways. They miss the poles because they're too busy charging after their owner or something. There is more skill to a tango mat. It doesn't sound like you need a lot of skill because it's a flat mat on the floor with poles. But actually, when you see it in action, and there are a few videos. One of the places to look on Facebook, if those of you that use Facebook, is Taming Canine's Dog Sports Team. That's actually my page, but it's a public page where me and my students, we post videos of our dogs competing. And we are a sports team, so there are videos on there competing in harness sports, competing in agility. There's lots of hoopers videos on there, and you can actually see a tango mat in action, and you can actually see that, it's not just running across a flat mat. They've actually got to find their way onto the mat through the poles. They must make contact with it, and then they've got to leave through the other poles and carry on with the rest of the course. So it does get quite exciting. Touch and go definitely gets very exciting.
So you just touched on this a few minutes ago, and we just spoke about it before we came live as well, about the distance handling. And you were just saying, trying to get a dog to go onto the tango mat from a distance, that's one of the real skills involved with it. So can you just explain to be clear, what that distance handling means?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm going to reference agility because obviously that is kind of where this has all come from. If any of you watch Crufts on the TV and you see agility, then you'll see handlers generally, if they're at Crufts, they are at the top of their game. They are athletes. They go to gyms and they really sort themselves out physically to be able to run with their dogs, and they keep up with their dogs, which means they run to pretty much every obstacle. So they basically stay with their dogs all the way around. Now, when we say distance handling, that is where a person is handling a dog, so directing a dog around a course, but instead of running with their dog or being anywhere near their dog, the handler is somewhere else. Now, there's different types of distance handling. From an agility point of view, you've got what I call full distance, which is where the handler either stands still. They put themselves somewhere in the ring and they stand still, or they're sitting down. Some people are in mobility scooters. Then you've got, so the dog basically does the whole course by themselves. Then you've got semi-distance, which is where the handler will move around the ring. Sometimes they'll even be running around the ring, but they won't actually be with their dog. So they'll send the dog that way and they'll run that way. Dog does something over here and then comes back to the handler. And then once they're back together, they do something here, and then the dog sends off that way and the handler runs off that way. So they are still working their dog from a distance, but they're not totally stood still. So then when we go into hoopers, what you've got what we call this distance handling. So the point of the course is actually the dog has got to go around those obstacles and do that course all the way around from start to finish, and obviously get the course correct. And at the same time, the handler is either going to be stood in an extra option, shall we say. So extra options could be a bonus box, a distance handling box, or a challenge line. So basically within the course, there are marked areas on the floor. Now, if you've got challenge lines, if you imagine that you've got this is your ring, and the course, let's just say we've got a horseshoe shape, goes up, across, and down. So then your challenge lines, depending on how far back, you have 3 challenge lines and they go horizontally across the ring. All right. And if you go all the way up and you only stay behind one line, you might only get 5 extra points.
Okay.
So your dog's only doing this particular bit of the course without you.
Yes.
And then if you stay behind this line, you're going to get 10 extra points for the dog doing this half of the course. And then the next one down is 15 points. So you get more points by handling from a distance.
Okay.
So we've also got then boxes. Your two different types of boxes. You've got a bonus box, which is really, really nice for starters, because if you stand in the box while your dog does that particular sequence, it might be 3 obstacles or it might be 4 obstacles. And your dog does those 3 or those 4 obstacles correctly with you stood in that box, you get those points. And it doesn't matter after that moment if your dog runs across the ring, snogs the judge, has zoomies, goes in the tunnel 500 times, and you get totally and utterly eliminated, because those 5 points that you earned for that little bit there, you know what? You did that right. So you get those and you get to keep them. So that is the beauty of the bonus box. Is it's really nice for starters because you can go home with 100 eliminations, but 10 points.
You've had some success. You've got something to go home with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're only testing very small sections at a distance.
Yes.
Whereas in comparison to that, you've got what we call the distance handling box, or the DHB, as it's nicknamed. And with the DHB, you have to be in that box before your dog attempts the first obstacle. And you still have to be in that box when your dog completes the final obstacle, and the dog can't make a mistake. So you have to do the
that's
whole
like the
box.
top end.
That's a lot higher up. Yeah, a lot higher up. And some of the lower levels that have a DHB, the DHB might be somewhere in the middle of the ring. So even though the dog's working with the handler, they're never more than half a ring away.
Yeah.
Whereas right up at the top level, the box might be in the bottom corner of the ring. So if the box is in, if the screen is the ring, if the box is in this corner of the ring, and then the course might go all the way up and work all the way around and do all kinds of things up here and then come back down. But you're
away from the handler for a lot of the time.
For a lot of it. And courses, obviously, they will get more complicated at a higher level. So if we talk about levels for a minute, we've got starters, novice, intermediate, advanced, and masters. Those are our 5 levels. Now, starters level, for those of you that are watching that kind of think, oh my God, this sounds really, really scary. We have to go and stand in a box. Actually, at starters level, it's not that hard. It's very specifically kept, not easy, because it's never going to be easy because it is a competition, but it is more obvious. So if you think like a train track, most courses at starters level are what I call a single track course, like a train track. So there's basically a line that goes and does the path all the way around the ring and then comes back to the finish. So there isn't lots of choices where the dog's got to choose whether they've got to go left or right or straight on, or there's not as many options for the dog, so they can't go wrong as easily. So that then makes the course easier. So even though the handler might be standing 3 meters away from their dog, if they're, say, doing an easy challenge line, actually the dog's line, once they're on their line, if you know what I mean, once they're on that train track, they keep going. So it's much, much easier. Whereas once you get up to the higher levels, the dog is going to have to start making choices about, well, okay, I can see 4 hoops. Which hoop do you want me to take? The one on the left, the one slightly to the left, the one slightly to the right, or the one to the right?
And that's when they're having to listen to the handler and know which way to go first.
Yeah, and dogs don't generally do this slowly up at the higher levels.
No, so, I've seen the videos and they are flying round so fast. Everyone should go and have a look.
They do, they do fly around, but I tell you what, it's not just a mental workout for the dogs, it's a mental workout for the handlers as well. Because, you know, if I'm running one of my top dogs, either the Kelpie or the little Spaniel mix, they will complete your average course in maybe 11 seconds, 12 seconds, and that could be up to 24 obstacles. And that's fairly average. And that, if you think, well, that's less than half a second per piece of equipment, if it's a full 24 obstacle course and they do it in 12, that's less than half a second. Now, if you see your dog heading in the wrong direction, you have got to react in a millisecond.
There's for them no time.
There is no time.
Not a chance. No, you wouldn't get the words out. You'd try. You know what you want to say, and then they'd just come out, blah, wouldn't they? No way.
They do. You have to get your timing absolutely spot on, and you have to be able to react. And I tell you, it is so tiring going home from a Hooper show, because it's mentally a bit of a workout for me, let alone the dogs. I mean, the
Yes.
dogs go home and sleep for a week.
Yeah.
But no, it does. It uses the brain, and they do fly around. Although, while we're on speed, I will just say speed isn't important when you compete
Okay,
at
I was
Canine
going to
Hoopers
say
UK.
about this because the whole, I mean, we're sort of looking at it from an arthritic dog's point of view, or an owner of an arthritic dog, and thinking that this is, something that they would love. So how, I mean, that just talking about that, how do you feel? Do you have lots of arthritic dogs that come and do Canine Hoopers because it's low impact?
Yeah, we do actually. I was going back through some of the old posts and things, and finding out stuff, and speaking to some of the chip instructors and that over the last couple of weeks since you asked us on to do this. And
Yeah.
we have so many owners that they kind of, everyone's heard of agility and everyone's heard of
Yes.
fly ball and obedience, but not that many have actually heard about hoopers, way back when. And a lot of people kind of came to try it and see what it was all about. And then as it's gained momentum, we did a post and we were like, so why did you start hoopers? What made you do it? And we have a huge split of people. We have tons of people that they start off a young dog with hoopers because they can
Right.
obviously do it when they're younger. And it's going to give them all the foundation and behavior training that they need for other dog sports without being an impact on their joints and on
Yes.
their lifespan effectively.
How
And
how
then
young can they be? What's the age limit to start?
to compete is 15 months old.
Okay.
But you can do it. I mean, we have 10-week-olds that start the basics of learning their left and their right, and to go forwards and to follow the way that Mum says. It's all
Yeah.
done very positively and with lots of fun, and it's all done in very very short groups. So if I'm teaching an exercise, I'll be like, right, get 10 treats out. When your 10 treats are gone, you stop.
That's it. It's too
So
much for them. Yeah.
yeah, and it tends to be the same. So then you go right up at the other end of the scale, and we've got dogs sorry, that are either ex-sports dogs from other sports, and it's not just agility. We have so many dogs that come over from gun dog and working trials, come over
Okay.
from rally, flyball, obviously agility dogs as well, and actually they come from all walks of life, but they come because they have retired or they have health conditions or they're arthritic. We actually have quite a lot of dogs that come to hoopers because they can't physically do the sport that they used to do, but mentally they still need some, they need to do something. we have got also, I have got, I don't know if you, tell you what, can I share my screen?
Yes, go for
Let's
it.
see if we can
Yes.
do this. So
Let me just pop this on here. Okay.
So if we do press the magic button.
Yes, hopefully this will work.
Okay, it's not said yes yet. Hang on, let's try again. Oh, there we go. Screen sharing, yes, screen share. You'll have to tell me when you can see the screen.
Yeah.
So if I just share entire screen.
Yes.
Or oh wow, I don't know how to do that. Oh, okay, yeah, we can share this. So here we go. So
okay, I'm just going to add it to the stream. Yeah, there we go. So can you see that?
So I've got it on my screen. So hopefully you can see it. Can you see it okay? Does it need to be zoomed in?
So we can see all the little pictures. If you put it in, I mean, can you click on each of the individual pictures?
Hang on. Hang on.
There we go. That's
so if we
better.
do this.
Okay. Oh, so, wow.
These are just a handful of the hundreds that we've got. So the top left, if we start top left and just kind of run across and go down. So Sarah Tunbridge sent this one in. She's got a dog that's got a new hip, knee surgery in the start of arthritis, who's 7. And then she's got one with bilateral hip dysplasia. Wow. So that's a picture of one of the dogs. Yeah. Sharon's got a middle-aged collie that gave up agility because of arthritis. And in hoopers, she's fine unless she does too much of the forwards drive, but a couple is fine for her. There's a very special one here. So Petra's comment just says Gilly. Now, that means a lot to me, but what I'll just explain is Petra competes in agility and has done for many, many years. And Gilly was her agility dog, and he got diagnosed with cancer. And she got in touch with me and said, I want to come and do your hoopers training camp. And I says, well, have you done hoopers before? No. okay, well, you can't come to camp because it's quite an advanced camp. Well, I really need to come. Anyway, it turns out Gilly, because he did distance agility, he absolutely took to hoopers amazingly, and she actually brought him to the tri-school tournament that same year, this was last year. And he did the tri-school tournament, and then he kept going. I mean, she had way more time with him than the vets said she would have left, and you wouldn't have known. No one would have known this dog was poorly, and he was absolutely amazing. She has sadly now lost him. He was an incredible dog, but it just shows how transferable skills are.
If maybe the hoopers actually kept him going for longer, you know, something interesting in his life, and when he was feeling a bit rubbish, you know, something that he actually really loved, maybe, you know, something in that.
That wouldn't surprise me. He was a real workaholic. He just wanted to be involved in everything, and obviously he couldn't do agility anymore. But he was a phenomenal hoopers dog, considering he basically only ever had one training session, which was a 3-day camp with me. And then he came to the international tri-school tournament. Amazing. And he went home with rosettes, and he was absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely.
So we got one with severe hip dysplasia there, a dog that had a hip replacement. I have got a video to show you as well. We have a lot of 3-legged dogs, and I didn't actually pull up a picture, but we've got one of our instructors, one of our advanced instructors actually, she's got a 3-legged miniature dachshund. I mean, this little dog's legs are absolutely tiny, and he's only got 3 of them, and he's called Hercules, which is absolutely brilliant. And he absolutely flies round. So Wendy's the video that I'm going to show you actually. Ella's a 12-year-old lab, 18 months ago was diagnosed with spondylitis, the start of arthritis in the hip. They started hoopers in December 2019, so they've been doing it nearly a year now. And her physio sees her every 4 weeks and amazed that this type of exercise seems to really help her. The only problem they find is if they run on sand. So some of the indoor equestrian centres, some of them, the sand is quite deep. So as long as it's not deep sand, it's not too bad, but some of the sand can be bad. So I'll just run through another couple. That's Lurcher Max. Oh my, I love Max. He is such a big clown. He is very good fun to watch running, but he had to stop agility because of elbow problems. And you've got Ali's got Tink, a Rottie, who had a hip hop at 9 months old. So they started hoopers. Then you've got Jan. Oh, Jan and Monty. This is wicked little dog. This is. Jan's actually one of my first ever students. She did hoopers training with me right back when she signed up with me back in 2017. And Monty did start to do agility, but struggled. And she's got an older spaniel as well, who's also got medical problems. And the pair of them have moved into hoopers. And they absolutely do it. I mean, Monty's probably
look at his little face there.
He's so happy,
loving it.
Absolutely adores what he does, and they are incredible. They're incredibly advanced. They've got some real skills. They really have. You've got Demi over the side. She's got a lovely little cocker spaniel who can be a bit reactive. And Hooper's helped the pair of them bond. And Demi's a lovely young girl, bless her. And Demi herself has got some disabilities, and it's really helped her and her spaniel bond. And Demi's actually one of our instructors now, and she's a really good instructor, and she just helps bring Hoopers to everybody.
That's a really good point, actually, that Hoopers isn't just for dogs with limited mobility, is it? It's for handlers as well. That's why it suits every dog and every handler. It's really inclusive, isn't it?
It really, really is. We have so many handlers that have come to us. So I know I've mentioned dogs young and dogs old, but we have dogs of all ages that compete very, very successfully. But we often get a lot of handlers with physical or even mental disabilities that have considered agility, or they've always loved the idea of doing agility, but they could never face it because agility, don't get me wrong, I love agility, but it can be quite intimidating. And the whole atmosphere and everything that's going on, if you're not an athlete, there's so much pressure, particularly at the moment over the last couple of years. I think there's so much pressure to really run and be up there with your dog and to be an athlete yourself. It's turning into a human sport. Whereas Hoopers, we actually take a step back from that and we're like, you know what? You don't have to run. The whole point is that you don't run. So we get so many people, wheelchairs, mobility scooters, walking aids, and actually they they come and they pot her into the ring and they take the dog's lead off and they say, go on then, off you go. And the dog goes off and does the course and they meet the dog at the finish and put the lead back on and say, thank you very much. And it is just so nice, particularly people that have been in the dog world for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And they're like, we used to compete in other sports and we physically can't anymore. But it gives them a reason to get out of bed every day, a reason to go and do something with their dog. And competing is just a bit of an icing on the cake thing at the end of the day.
And really improves their bond as well, because they're doing something they both enjoy, the dog and the person.
Yeah. Just while I'm on screen share, I'm just going to go back to this one of Wendy's. She sent me this video. I asked her to send it over to me so I could actually show you an arthritic dog doing hoopers. So lovely. I'm going to attempt now. So that's closed that. So now if we do, here we go. Hang on.
So I will just add, and then I'll just put the video on the screen and we can get rid of our faces.
Yeah, I just have to make sure because I've got it open, but it doesn't seem to want to. Bear with me a second. If I just do share entire screen, that might be easier. So it's sharing the whole screen. So if I now put that on, if you let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so if I put, so this is the 12-year-old lab with arthritis that Wendy sent me.
Lovely.
And this is the dog doing a hoopers course. So this is what I was talking about with the distance handling. The handler's not running around with their dog. They are moving. But obviously they're not running around. The dog obviously is having a great time. Look at that tail. Very happy dog. But actually moving, and like I say, this is the one where the physio was really, really happy with how the dog was looking. And it's actually hoopers is keeping this dog fit. So
how long, how many runs typically would a dog do? So how many rounds would they do of that? Just the one, and how does that work?
That was one run. So at a show, most shows will offer 4 runs a day if you want them. You don't have to enter all the runs. You can do 1 run, 2 run, 3 run, 4 runs, or whatever's on offer. Most runs, even with, so that was a 12-year-old dog, so that dog would probably have been running in the veteran category. And
right, okay. So veterans is what, over 7, over 8?
Yeah, so veterans, they have to be at least 7 years old to enter the veteran category, but it's optional because most, and I'm going to be a little bit mean now, most collies at like 13 years old are still charging around like a lunatic.
It's very breed specific, isn't it? In a way,
you know, I mean, some of our dogs, we've got flat coats, and a flat coat getting past the age of 8 is considered very, very old.
Yeah.
So actually, they don't ever really benefit the bigger breeds from it. So it's optional, and it's a case of when your dog is ready for veteran, you move them over. It's not mandatory. You can stay in the normal categories if you'd rather, because at the end of the day, the courses aren't any more detrimental to a dog in, say, advanced or masters than they would be in a veteran class.
And so is it just in the veteran class you're competing against other dogs that are going to be slower at doing this than in your other groups?
That's exactly what it is. The veterans, they have their own set of they have their own set of results at a show. So they're not competing against the 18-month-old, 2-year-old, and I'm going to say it, border collies that fly around like lunatics. Okay, yes, they might go wrong, but speed-wise, you know, if they're in there, it's not really fair to pit a 10-year-old dog against a 2-year-old dog. So while speed isn't an option, and this is why some people will opt to keep their dogs in normal instead of in vet, is if they have an older dog, it might be a bit slower, but if that dog is going to earn the distance points, they will beat a young dog because speed doesn't come into it. Points do.
Right. So you get points. Just to clarify this, you get points not for the speed you get around the course, but for each obstacle that you manage to do.
Not quite. So this is what I was saying earlier about you get the challenge line and the boxes.
Distance. Right. Okay.
And that's where you earn your points. So some of the older dogs, actually, they won't put them into veteran. They would rather keep them against the youngster, because if the youngsters have got the distance, then and it comes down to a decider, if they've got the same points, obviously speed is a factor.
Right.
But actually, if you've got an older dog that's that bit wiser, they might go 1 or 2 seconds slower around the obstacles, but they're going to be more accurate. and they're going to get more points.
Yeah.
So that's why veterans is not mandatory. It's optional, because every single dog is an individual, and we would fully expect that everyone would take that into account and do what's right for their own dog.
Okay.
And it depends. I mean, my Kelpie is 7.5 now, and compared to how he's been, he's very, very slow. But if you saw him running around, you'd be like, wow, he's fast. He was just turbo speed when he was younger. And it would be it wouldn't be sportsmanlike to put him into veteran just because he's 7.5. He's not ready.
No.
Saying that, I've got she's 9. Yeah, she's about 9 years old, border collie, who she's never been particularly worky or sports minded. She's a lady of leisure. She likes to be a lady of leisure, and she ambles around courses. And because she doesn't really do the charging around like a loony, her gait has now changed. So she's got what I would call an old lady's gait. There's nothing wrong with her. She just doesn't fully extend her back legs. She just doesn't have the right gait, and she doesn't move that fast anymore. So she actually does compete in veteran, and she's 9.
Right. Okay. So it's very individual.
I think it's got to be. At the end of the day, you know, we have a collie that at 7 needed to go into veteran, and she trots around. And we've got collies that are 13 years, and I know I'm picking on collies here, but any working breed, really, if you've got a worky, drivey dog that's physically fit and able, then they shouldn't be moving to veteran until they need it. And it's there to prevent the old guys having to compete against the youngsters, basically.
Yes, which is good, because you don't, I mean, obviously a dog doesn't care how many points it gets, does it? But it's just there for the thrill of doing what it's doing. But yeah, it's really nice that you've got, is there a change with the veterans one? Are there fewer obstacles, or is it still, I mean, do you add in obstacles as the levels go up?
No, so you can have between 15 and 24 obstacles on a course.
Right.
And we do have like a maximum amount of time that you're allowed to get around the course.
Okay.
So we have 2 options. We have a standard course time, which is 45 seconds. And if you get a clear round in that 45 seconds, you get 10 points, as well as any of the handling points that you've earned in the distance. If you go over 45 seconds, we have the maximum course time, okay, which is double that, so it's 90 seconds. Okay. And if you get round clear within 90 seconds, then you only get 5 clear round points. However, the only reason we have the time limit is because if people were allowed to be in the ring for 5 minutes just to make sure their dog got round every obstacle, with all the competitors, we would never get through it. Yeah. But saying that, I've only ever had 1 dog go over the standard course time, and this dog was eliminated anyway. It was sniffing and having zoomies and having a real great time. Yeah, but wasn't really
went away
doing that much.
He was a winner, but
at the end of the day, definitely the champ.
Yeah.
And in the same way I said, a lot of starters will get round courses in anything between 10 and 15 seconds. Yes. I've never had a veteran dog go over about 28 seconds.
Okay.
So even though you might have up to 24 obstacles in a course, actually, even if they only trot round, it's less than 1 minute of exercise.
Yeah.
And
but it's that mental stimulation as well, isn't it?
And that's what it's all about. But at the end of the day, when we run our shows, when we run the BAA, we will have a chuck ring and we will have agility rings. So people come and they compete in both. And a lot of the time, if their classes are kind of clashing, they will do the hoopers run to warm their dogs up for the agility run. Because it's less than a minute. In fact, usually it's less than 30 seconds of running around on the flat with no sharp turns, no impact, nothing detrimental to the dog at all. Yeah. And it's a nice warm up. And I kind of think, well, actually, if your dog still happily goes for a walk, even if it's not, a 5-mile hike anymore, if they still go out for their, a walk, anything from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and they have their potter, if they're physically capable and happy and comfortable going for a walk, then you can do hoopers.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of dogs. Most dogs are still doing that, aren't they? Yeah. So when it comes to I just see Wendy here, she's written a comment about with Ella, we enter 4 runs, but I decide how she looks, and quite often she tells me when she's had enough. So in that situation then, if you've entered a competition, so just to also clarify, with hoopers, you don't just come along and do it. It's not like fun sessions, are they? You enter a competition to do it. Is that right?
No. You don't have to. So I have focused more on competitions.
Yeah.
So there is other aspects to hoopers. So we've got obviously the people that go on and compete. You don't have to compete. You never have to compete. You can still go and do it. We have got accredited instructors up and down the UK. In fact, we've actually got instructors abroad in other countries as well now.
Oh, wow.
And it's really, really taking off. It's very, very exciting. I'll talk about I'll get onto that in a minute. And we've actually got an award scheme that we've designed that is our instructors run it inside their own training club. So it's called the Good Hoopers Awards, and you can go, and this could be for anyone. You know, you don't have to be sports minded. This could just be everyone at home who their dog maybe gets a 20-minute lead walk around the block Monday to Friday, but on a Saturday and Sunday they get 30 minutes in the park because we all have busy lives, right?
Yeah.
So they don't really have the time to do the training at home. They're not really interested in going and standing out in all weathers at a competition.
Yeah.
But they are good dog owners and they want to give their dog something to do. And you can go to your local training class and you can learn all the skills. You can learn to have, it's really good at building dogs' confidence. It's really good at building a really, really fantastic relationship between the handlers and their dogs. And at the same time, as a way of monitoring your progress, your instructors can put you through the Good Hoopers Awards, and you've got foundation, which can be done by a dog of any age. It was originally puppy, but we get so many rescue dogs that benefit from it that it got changed to foundation.
Right.
And then you've got bronze, silver, and gold. Now the gold is quite hard, but bronze, I mean, I'll go out and do a day's workshop as a guest trainer, and I'll have people in the morning that have never done hoopers, and in the afternoon they'll pass their bronze assessment.
Okay.
So it is achievable. The whole point is it is achievable and it is fun for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
and these are things you could then do at home as well, or with your friends in the park.
Yes, absolutely. Hooper's equipment is so transportable. It's not heavy. You can stick it in a bag, pop it on your back, and off you go to the park. All right. We have a lot of people. In fact, I wish I'd saved Jan's picture. Jan, I'll see if I don't know if she's listening, but if she's on here, she might share in the comments for you a picture. She goes down to the park. She's got a little trolley and she puts in her hoopers, her tunnels, ties it up with a bungee cord, and she's off down the local park with the dog and her mates, and they have a great time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to transport. Now, talking about doing hoopers at home, we have actually got something very exciting going on at the moment. So, with the Good Hoopers Awards, they are so popular and they are so encouraging for so many dogs and owners that when way back in, it would have been March now, COVID-19 was actually becoming a thing, if you like. Yeah. Initially it was, well, there's something going on abroad, but it's not over here and it's not really a thing.
We'll
it's not a thing yet. Well, then it became a thing.
Yeah.
And as we went into lockdown, myself and the rest of the Canine Hoopers UK committee, we decided we wanted to do something for our instructors. So our instructors, most of them, not all of them, most of them are full-time dog trainers. You go into lockdown and suddenly that's all of us, between 400 and 500 of us out of work.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can we do? We've got people stuck at home for their own mental health. I mean, so many people are struggling with depression and that from the lockdown. Actually, we decided, it took off a bit more than expected, but we decided to design the online Good Hoopers Awards. These are different exercises to the in-house Good Hoopers Awards that you do in class. They are very different exercises. And you don't need proper Hoopers equipment. We actually compiled a list of things that you can use around the house as different pieces of Hoopers equipment, such as a bit of hose pipe stood in 2 wellies, and you've got a hoop.
Amazing.
It's that
easy. Yeah. Everyone's got that stuff around, haven't they?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we did these online Good Hoopers Awards, and we ran them for a few months earlier in the year. And basically, I was going in for some of it and doing live lessons every day. For some of it, I was poorly and I was out of it. So our advanced instructors then stepped up and they were doing the live lessons every day. And what it did was our instructors had the income from their students, putting their students through the awards that we provided materials for. And it meant people at home had something to do with their dogs. And especially if they couldn't go and do the sports they normally do. So unless you've got a huge back garden, you can't practice agility in it. But hoopers, you don't need a huge amount of space to do it.
No.
And we have actually, last week, we reopened the Online Good Hoopers Awards. We've reopened the doors for this second lockdown that we're
Yeah.
in. Not that lockdowny, but
It's
it is a
whatever you
lockdown.
call this that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the doors are actually open at the moment, and we are reworking through the levels. And once you are signed up, you have access to all the training contents for life. We do loads of extras that aren't always totally Hoopers related, but they're all dog training related. So we have a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And you can get big rosettes out of it. And at the end of the day, it gives handler and dog something to focus on. And you don't need to go out in public. You don't need
Hmm.
expensive equipment. And you don't need a huge amount of space, certainly not for the lower levels. And
Yeah.
actually, it gives you something to do at home. And at the
Yeah.
same
And it's
time,
great for your dog as well.
it is. And it's
Great for
such a
you and the,
fantastic way for
yeah.
people to get into the sport.
Yes. Yeah. And then when you can do, I mean, you are going to be really, really busy when we're able to go back to normal life. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, well, I want to do this properly now. I want to compete. This sounds
Yeah.
amazing. I'm just going to read some of these comments because I've just been keeping a little eye on them. Liz here has written, the Good Hoopers Awards are fabulous, really
Hi,
give the dog mental stimulus and they're great
Liz.
fun. And we've got Sally here saying, I don't compete, but enjoy doing the online and Good Hoopers Awards with my 14-year-old Parson Russell. His arthritis and is also deaf, but he loves his Hoopers class. This is amazing stuff coming out here. And then just Petra talking about Gilly, bless Gilly, also had
Oh, yeah.
arthritis in his left knee. But yeah, sounds like,
Yeah.
just having that to look forward to every week was, or however frequently he did it was, something really important. Oh, here's Janet with her little trolley. Frequently
Oh,
head
bless
off
her.
around the corner to practice. And then she's also put, I love this comment down here. Um, I get lots of spectators when playing at the park. Lots of people are really interested in what we're doing because the equipment is so accessible and easy to transport. Well, I think the people of Southeast London are soon going to be hopefully spectating. I feel like I'm going to get on this, like at the weekends.
Oh, you should. You should. You should. In fact, let me speak to the committee, but I'm sure as a thank you for letting us come on and do the live, we'll give you an honorary place to do the Online Good
Oh,
Hoopers Awards.
amazing.
You
Well
should
up for
come
that.
and do it and enjoy it. It's
I have
so
my
much fun.
Labrador and she's coming up to 2. So this is something, and I don't do enough with her. We go out for walks, but she should be doing something more mentally stimulating. So
Mm-hmm.
Fiona Perry, I started Hoopers after the first lockdown, having never quite grasped agility handling. The dogs and I are loving Hoopers, and doing the awards has been something to focus on and promote my health and the dog's well-being during a very difficult year. It's so important. We're obviously here to talk about arthritic dogs, but the effect on people is huge from this lockdown as well. So we've just got here Anne Marie. My old girl has severe osteoarthritis. She used to do bits of Hoopers, which helped with her mobility. This is great. I never pre-entered shows with her, but entered classes on the day if she told me she wanted to run. It was her choice. Oh, that's interesting. So she still has a bit of a trot around the garden. If I get hoops out for my other dogs and she enjoys it. So you don't even need to really book well in advance for these competitions. These are the kind of things that you could, if you felt like doing it on a day and it was local, you could just turn up. Is that how it works?
Yeah, normally, yes. At the moment, no, because of lockdown rules. So
Yeah.
normally we have competitions up and down the UK, and you can enter and pay on the day if it doesn't fill in advance. Obviously, it's getting very popular, so there's not always
Yeah.
spaces left to run on the day.
Yeah.
But again, we came up with another option through the lockdown. So instructors that have got their own venue or access to a not quite so huge venue, where when you were allowed small groups, you could, a bit like going to a training class in small groups or booking a one-to-one, you could turn up and you do your runs, and the instructor would judge your runs like a normal competition, and then you would leave before the next people turned up. And then over the 2 days, so over the weekend usually, the results were then all put together, and you then had a competition result. So for those ones, so the progression events, as they're called, you can't just turn up for those.
Yeah.
They have to be pre-booked time slots, because that's the only way we can keep them COVID safe.
With it, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
But normal competitions, no, absolutely, pay on the day is a big thing. And especially if you do Hoopers with a dog with a health condition, you can go, you know what, he's normally fine first thing in the morning, so you do that one, but by lunchtime he's tired, so just pay on the day and do the runs that happen before your dog's had enough. Yeah.
So just if people do want to do this, how do you start? Oh, at the moment, it sounds like obviously the best way is to go online and do the Good Hoopers Awards online. That
Yes.
for now. But in normal life, how would you start? Tell us if we want to go ahead and do this? Where should we go?
Okay, so your first port of call is the Canine Hoopers UK website, which is canineHoopersUK.co.uk.
I will put a link on the Facebook page on this live. I'll put the links on there after the live. So please look back if you want to get that link.
Cool, thanks, Nikki. So if you go on there, there's lots of information on the website now. There's even a suppliers list if you want to start buying your own equipment, and one particularly Phase Purple, they actually do budget equipment for at home as well. So if you don't want to get like the top of the range stuff, but it's also affordable. And then if you go on, there's a tab across the top that's called Find an Instructor. And if you go onto there, you can put your postcode in and it will pop up with Google Maps with all our instructors up and down the UK. And you can contact several of your nearest and just get in touch with them, and they'll be able to advise what classes they've got running. And the other thing we find our instructors is that we're a really supportive group. We're a bit of a family, really. So if one instructor can't fit you in, they'll be like, well, actually, you can't do the night I train, but actually, if you go 5 minutes up the road over here, you've got this person or this person, and they run classes. So here's their number as well. So even if they can't help you directly, they will be able to put you in touch with someone who can help you. Right. I do run online training. I haven't got any running at this moment in time, but I do run online stuff as well. So I get a lot of people that they live usually right in the depths of Scotland or right in the depths of Wales, and that's traveling like over an hour. Yeah. So I do every so often run online training that's really for those people that can't really get to classes that easily. Okay. But honestly, at the minute, the online awards, and once you're signed up, even to just the foundation level for the online awards, you don't have a time limit. You can complete them as and when you want to. So if you complete them in 5 years, that's up to you. But it then gives you that training resource that you can have in the background, and you can keep working your way through the levels. So I think for me, the online awards is definitely the place to go. And if everyone works through the different levels of the online Good Hoopers Awards, by the time they then go to an instructor, they won't necessarily have to go into the bottom class. They can actually go straight in and start using the skills that they have taught their dogs and start having fun.
No, definitely. I mean, it's all kind of things that you kind of want to do with your young dogs, especially, with training them and obedience and that kind of thing. But to get them to do, some dog, when I had my dog as a pup, it was really hard work, and she did get a bit bored of the things like go sit, lay down, do this, do that. But when you're doing something where they're getting that real buzz from it as well, it's kind of it's behavioural as well as sport. It's kind of got everything chucked into it, hasn't it?
It really is. And the way we teach hoopers within the Chuck organisation, it's derived from when I originally used to teach distance agility. So it's all based on building confidence, building understanding, and it's all done through choice. There's none of this dog on the lead and take them over something or take them through something. It's all done off lead, and it's all done through choice. So if your dog makes the choice not to do it, that's okay. Yeah. But what we do is, because it's all done through choice, what you find, and particularly, and I will say this, so I run I think he's about 5 years old now, 5, 6 years old, a husky, a Siberian husky. And I always get told off, you can't walk huskies off the lead. They've got no recall. They run off, and they're not trainable. And what I find, particularly the non-collie type breeds, is if they think it's their idea, it's worth doing again. Yeah. If they think it's your idea, no thanks, Mum, don't want to do it. Get it. So by doing everything through choice, and it works so well, particularly with dogs that are really quite nervous and timid, it really brings them out their shell because, but I want to go and do that. And, really when I do that, I get given sausages or a tennis ball or, whatever it is. And it's all done through choice. And because it's in such short, so like I say, I would do it in like 10 treats, stop. And then do another 10 treats in another few minutes. And there's no pressure on the dog. And the dogs just get so much joy out of it. And I get to the point where if I don't put the Hoopers equipment away, because they just want to go and do it all the time. Yeah, they just don't want to stop. They don't. They love it, but they love it because of how it's taught. It's all positive. It's all fun, and it's all choice. And it's a choice. Is powerful. Yeah, no, it's really important.
I'm just going to go back to a few of these comments again here as well. There was one I saw about, I think you should keep, oh, so Janet's written, I think you should keep the online even when there's no lockdown.
Hi, Janet. There is a slight admin issue. There's only 5 of us on the committee. You see, Canine Hoopers UK is a not-for-profit, so we're all volunteers and we all do this for nothing.
So
and there's when we come out of lockdown, we all go back to work.
Yes.
And then it's having the hours to still
do that on top. You've got to sleep at some point. You have to get sleep.
Oh, damn it, that's where I'm going wrong.
Sandrine has written, Hayley, looking forward to a new level in the online Good Hoopers Award. Hello from France. Yeah, this is international, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, the online Good Hoopers Awards, we have people literally around the globe that have taken part in them. And they've just gone down so well, and we are having reopened them talking, and I'm probably going to get shouted at for this, but we are talking about what we can have as a platinum level because people are already finishing the gold level. So there might be a new level soon. But
they need that next one up. Okay, watch out, everyone. You've heard it here first. I am doing Hoopers with my husband's retired working trials champion who has arthritis, and it is keeping him really, really fit and young in his attitude to life. Last time we went to our chiropractor, she commented on how he had muscled up. Now, these are all things as a vet that I just love to hear, because this is, you know, in the arthritic dogs that I see on a day-to-day basis, one of the things that is really sad is you can see that muscle loss, you can see the wastage going on. And we do use a lot of physio now. You know, physio has become really, really popular, thank goodness. And you see the difference. You feel like, I would agree, you know, physios will see the difference when they're doing exercises that keep those muscles toned up and keep them mobile. And exercise is just so important. You know, it's one of the free treatments almost that you can use for arthritic dogs, and it's very underused, and we need to get better at doing that. We have here a comment from Tracy. I was devastated when my dog decided not to jump in agility. Someone asked if I'd heard of Hoopers. I hadn't tried it and loved it, but my dog loves it more. Well, that's just, perfect. Now I'm hooked. I'm training as an instructor next week. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
Very exciting.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on there. Just got settings up on the screen. Who else have we got here? Me and Tink are looking forward to doing some comps next year. Janet's written, Hoopers has been great for my nearly 11-year-old cockapoo, retired from agility, but Hoopers gives him mental stimulation. He's like a puppy. Well, this is all this is really positive here, isn't it? So this is Janet with the trolley, is that right?
Janet with the trolley. What a great name.
I also have a 10-year-old Springer Rosie who's been really poorly for the last couple of years. Hooper's been absolutely great for working on her fitness. We can do little bits and pieces, and she loves to work when she's feeling up to it. This is great. This stuff that you can dip into. My 6-year-old Border Collie has had to retire from agility due to keep getting injured. So we tried Hoopers, and he absolutely loved it, and equally as much as agility, if I'm honest. And I'm obsessed with it. So that's really good. Judith has written, will my garden take the platinum level?
Yes, Judith, you have to do it. You and Bryn, absolutely.
And Joe's written, I started Hoopers with my puppy, but my old reactive boy loves it, and despite developing spinal problems, can continue with Hoopers. If he was still doing agility, he would have to retire. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds great that you've decided to, do something that recognize that there is this gap where that people, older dogs, less mobile dogs still need something, and this is it. This is the answer, I think.
It really is. I mean, we've got one of my rescue kelpies has actually got lupus, and UV rays make him poorly. So if ever anyone that's on my Facebook, they'll say he's always in clothing because the sun makes him poorly. And he doesn't go anywhere faster than a trot because as part of his condition, his nails, they get brittle, they snap, they fall out. So his feet can get very, very sore. But on a good day, he will go and trot himself around the hoops. It's really rare. And it's not very often. But on the day where there's no sun and he's not having to wear any clothes, if the hoops are out, he'll go and trot himself around them and enjoy
just gives him a buzz.
It does, but he gets
Yeah.
sausages for doing it. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
If someone gave me a chocolate bar every time I went through a hoop,
absolutely.
I'd go
Oh
through
my
hoops
God,
all
yeah,
day.
absolutely. Delia's written, I'm signing up my 12-year-old border collie with spondylosis for online. He has good walks, but he will love this as an ex-obedience boy. Yeah, let us know how you get on. It sounds brilliant. Tink loves her hoopers. It's the one thing she is never stiff after a hoopers day. Yeah, exercise will help your arthritic dogs, definitely.
Oh yeah.
One of my students shared how her hoopers training helped with her competitive obedience skills. Yes, that's all to do with sort of your behavior side of things. Um, Oh, they're just coming so strong now. Going to try Carol. It's written. Going to try online hoopers with my 4-year-old Jack Russell with hip dysplasia. He loved fun agility when he was younger. Sounds like this would be perfect for him. So definitely give that a go. Um, and Janet back again here. Not only has Hooper stimulated the dogs, it has made me rethink how I run agility. Distance handling is something new to me, as it was to me until this evening. But I'm enjoying the challenge of getting my head around it. Yeah, a challenge for the handler and for the dog.
It is, and
Um,
I will shout out to Janet there. I've been over and done a couple of training sessions with her, but I know her trainer, and the trainer's working really hard with her on the distance as well. And for Janet particularly, it's a very different style. I mean, she was one of those agility handlers that ran to every piece of
ran
equipment.
around.
And
Hmm.
the hardest thing, I mean, occasionally we have to peg people's shoelaces down to stop them from running because you're so busy concentrating on what the dog is doing, you forget.
Yeah.
And they go, "We did it," and I go, "Yeah." And they went, "Did we stand still?" No,
No.
they had no idea that they were moving.
No.
It's so common. And Janet, I take my hat off to her. Janet is this is so alien to her, and they have
Yeah.
come so far in just a matter of a couple of months. Yeah, it really is so awesome to watch, and I do think Janet's
Yeah.
doing a fabulous job. So well done, Janet.
Really rewarding. So Elizabeth here has written, hi, I have a Staffy Cross who has had TPLO on both legs. That's normally the surgery we do for cruise ship
Mm.
ruptures. She is 10 years old now. Would it be good for her as she is retired from agility now? What do
Yeah,
you think?
so yeah, I would absolutely say that. Always double check it with your vet. So we do say if you've got a dog with a health concern, check with your vet. A lot of them don't know what Hoopers is. Take them a video and show them what Hoopers
Yeah.
is.
Well, tell them to
Explain that
watch
it.
Canine Arthritis Management and then look it
Yes,
up on that.
yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you start off with very, very small exercises. So it's not going to be detrimental. You're not going to go to a Hoopers class and run a course on week one. And if you do go and run a course on week one, then you're doing something wrong. All right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to build it up in stages. And it's not just the dog's mental ability to understand what it is that you want and your ability. You have to learn it as well because it is quite
Mm,
different to other sports.
mm.
So whilst you're doing all the learning and building things up from 1 hoop to 2 hoops to 3 hoops to then a little circle, okay, and then you add a barrel in, actually all that time you are gradually building the dog's muscles as you
Yeah.
go through. So then by the time you are ready to run longer sequences, they've got the muscle tone there
The
and it's
fitter.
not going to be detrimental. The only thing I would say, and occasionally as humans, and it is a human thing, we tend to get a little bit carried away when the dog's doing well. And I
Mm,
think you have to be aware of your dog's needs. And if you have a dog with a health concern, you have to know when to stop. Don't
yeah.
push too hard because a little bit of exercise is going to be really good for them. A lot
Mm,
of exercise is going to make it go the other way.
yeah.
So you've got to be sensible with it. And I think sometimes, and I even think I'm guilty of this as well, we get in the moment and we oh yeah, I'll just do it one more, I'll just do
They're
one more,
loving
just
it.
do one more. And
Yeah.
then actually they get up the next day and you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that many. So
It's a really good point,
sensible.
actually, because they don't know when to stop. And it
No.
is up to you. Like you say, you know your dog better than anybody else, and you know their limits. And deep down, you kind of know when you've pushed it too far. So it is a really important point because they will carry on going, and it doesn't mean that they're not in
Mm,
pain. And especially, like you say, the next day they could really be suffering for it. So yeah, worth building it up and just taking it really, really slowly.
yeah.
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Um, I've got another one here. Will Marianne says we'll book on to the online. Chloe, my smoothie doodle, enjoyed the weekend we went to in August, and I'm looking forward to getting more involved. My older doodle will benefit physically, and my standard poodle mentally. One day I'll pass the trainer's course and be able to share it. Brilliant.
Cool.
Um, another, oh no, that was Marianne. Now we've got Anne Marie. I have a 10-year-old Jack Russell that's had TPLO surgery. Oh no, that's one we've just done, isn't it? No, it's not. It's another TPLO surgery.
It's
So
another,
another
yeah.
cruise ship dog. I retired her from agility after surgery and took up Hoopers. She is amazing at it. We came runner-up in the national Hoopers finals this year. Do it.
Yes, they
Brilliant.
did, and it was a really good run. I was
Really?
actually there. Yeah, I was at the venue that Anne-Marie was running at. Yeah, we have a
Oh,
national
amazing.
finals every summer, and you qualify throughout the year to run, and
Okay.
then we have a big final. And what we had to do this year, because of lockdown, we couldn't have so many people in one place, so
Yeah.
we ran the smaller shows up and down the country, and basically the judges were distributed the same courses to a specific map, and they all then put them up at their venue up and down the country, and then
Okay.
the results were all collaborated into one, and then we still managed to run the national finals with the
Yeah,
lockdown going
brilliant.
on.
Yeah, don't let this
Um,
horrible thing stop you doing all this. It's just that's absolutely rubbish, isn't it? It shouldn't be stopped. Um, so I'm going to just what I'm going to have to do is try and wrap it up at some point because I've just realised that we've been talking for over an hour.
I know, I
I
just
just kind of just
realised
got
that.
lost in it and just I've got this and this and this. So what I'm going to say is that I'll go through the rest of these, and if there's anything that we need, well, we'd like to answer, I'm sure Hayley wouldn't mind if I just contact you and get some answers for any questions that
Yeah,
I
that's
might
fine.
not have answered. And what we'll hopefully do is get Hayley on another time, hopefully when things are back more to normal, and we can chat more because I'm sure there's going to be more comments and more questions come up. So I think that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So thank you so much, Hayley, for coming on this evening.
No, thank you for having me on. It's been great to share the Hoopers love.
Yeah, so exciting. I'm ready to go. So
Good. We'll get
yeah,
you
if
signed
anyone has
up.
any more questions, please do pop them down in the comments, and I will go through them over the next couple of days and get back to you. So I hope everyone has a brilliant rest of their evening, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you soon. Take
Brilliant.
care,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks, Nikki. Bye.
Bye.